The inquest into the death of Chris Kaba started this week to try and identify the actions and decisions which led to an unarmed man being gunned down by Metropolitan police officers in Streatham Hill, South London last month. Obviously still a very sore subject for many, as there are still many unknowns and, in my opinion, contradictions. At the start of the inquest, the Metropolitan Police read out a statement at London Inner South Coroner's Court yesterday, which is said to have been a summary based upon the evidence collected to date in the investigation. That statement read, on Monday the 5th of September 2022, Mr Chris Kaba was driving an Audi motor vehicle in South London. The Audi Mr Kaba was driving was believed to be linked to a firearms incident which took place the previous day, and an automatic number plate recognition marker had been placed up on it. A briefing was provided to officers prior to their shift on the 5th of September, in which the Audi was brought to their attention as being potentially associated with a firearms incident the previous day. Mr Kaba's name was not included in this briefing. According to police logs and accounts received to date by officers, the Audi was recognised by officers parked at the side of the A202 in Camberwell Green in an unmarked armed response vehicle. The officers then started to follow the vehicle and circulated this via police airwaves at around 9:52 p.m. Officers continued to follow the Audi until 10:07 p.m. The officers did not activate their lights or sirens while following the vehicle. The intention was to use an enforced stop extraction on the Audi. At around 10:07 p.m, Mr Kaba made a left turn from New Park Road into Kirkstall Gardens. Already present on Kirkstall Gardens was a marked police armed response vehicle. The marked ARV had parked on Kirkstall Gardens with the intention of joining the police vehicles behind the Audi once it had passed the junction. One of the officers inside the marked ARV was NX121. Once Mr Kaba had turned left, the decision was taken to perform an inline extraction. Armed officers exited their vehicles and approached the Audi. The evidence suggests that contact was made between the Audi driven by Mr Kaba and the police vehicles. The evidence further suggests that Officer NX121 was standing to the front of Mr Kaba's vehicle. A single shot was fired by Officer NX121, piercing the front windscreen of the vehicle Mr Kaba was driving, and struck him. Officers at the scene provided first aid to Mr Kaba before he was taken to King's College Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 12:16 a.m. on Tuesday the 6th of September 2022. Something that stands out to me here is that there's only one suggestion that the police made contact with the driver, but fails to say what that was. Obviously, as stated, at least one of the vehicles was unmarked, and anyone I would imagine being forced to stop with people in a regular looking vehicle without lights or sirens who jump out with guns are going to be frightened. There's also no mention in the statement of any elapsed time between stopping the vehicle and firing the shot. Now, to be fair, the images of the incident scene show a marked police BMW firearms unit in front of Chris on Kirkstall Road. So although I just said an unmarked vehicle with police with guns will frighten anyone, we should also understand that there was a clearly marked police vehicle on scene too, and was directly in front of Chris, so he couldn't have missed it. Now, although in previous reports we mentioned how it said he tried to ram his way out of the police block, the police statement suggests that they made tactical contact with the vehicle Chris was driving. And this is going to make it difficult now to identify if he was trying to ram them or not, as the damage could be used still to suggest he was. But on the other hand, he could have been rammed by the police car and had nowhere to go. Again, something that could be used for or against the police in this incident. The inquest, although started yesterday, was adjourned by the senior coroner, Andrew Harris, whilst further investigations by the Independent Office for Police Conduct take place. Relatives of Mr Kaba shared a tearful embrace outside the court after a brief hearing and called for an urgent decision on criminal charges. Mr Kaba's cousin, Jefferson Bosela, called for the officers involved to be interviewed under caution immediately, which I have to say I don't disagree with, as any member of the public would be interviewed under caution post-haste, but police were allowed time to concoct their stories before they're interviewed. This, I think, is a practice that certainly needs to stop. Mr Bosela said, "We need answers, not just this family, but the whole of London, the whole of the country, needs to know how something like this could occur. How can a young man sitting in a car, unarmed, be shot in the head by police in London in 2022. This should never have happened. It must never happen again. We must never accept this as normal. Someone must be held accountable." And again, whilst I sympathise with the family and understand they are upset and want to hold someone to account, there is still a possibility that Chris, who was known for firearms offences, did try to evade the police. Although that doesn't warrant a death sentence, he still could have contributed to the actions that led to the police shooting him. The firearms officer who shot Chris has been informed of the homicide investigation against him. However, this can take 6 to 12 months to complete. Of course, because it's a copper. You or I would be in court by now, but there's nothing like dragging your feet when it's one of your own. Mr. Bosela said, "My cousin Chris was very much loved by us. His loss is with us every day. He had a bright future ahead of him. His first child was about to be born. That his life was cut short by a police officer is a tragedy. We will not rest until the people responsible for Chris's death are held fully accountable." And I'm sorry if you think I'm being harsh here, but one of those who were responsible for Chris's death, even if indirectly, was the person he borrowed the car from. I mean, have the police found out if it was in fact the vehicle they were looking for, as in, was it really involved in a firearms incident in the previous days? Was the man who the car belonged to involved in firearms incidents? And also, Chris's actions on the day in question must be taken into account too. Yes, people need to be held accountable and responsible, but that doesn't mean that the person who died should be devoid of all blame just because they were the one who lost their life. Again, still too much evidence that's not being released, and a statement missing some integral information means we must keep waiting to find out for sure. If we ever will find out for sure what happened, that is. There is no date set for the inquest to restart, as they are waiting for the IOPC to conclude their investigation. But we will pick up on it once we find out when that starts.